Welcome to everyone to the Missouri Alliance for Arts Education's first step forward into offering professional development in the area of racism, inclusion, diversity, and equity. For those who don't know me or don't know very much about the Missouri Alliance for Arts Education, I'd love to take just a moment and give you a brief overview of the Alliance and a little bit of what brought us to this place tonight. So for everyone who is here, I encourage you to put your name, your school, and or city state in the chat. Since we may have some out-of-state folks, we'd love to figure out where we are reaching. And if you'd like to rename yourself with your preferred pronouns, you're invited to do that. I think the permissions are all set up for you to be able to do that. For those who do not know, the Missouri Alliance for Arts Education is a nonprofit service organization, and we do service the statewide arts ed organizations in music, theater, visual arts, and dance. A few of our partners, their logos are listed here, and our mission is to support arts education for all Missourians. Our vision is for a fine arts education in all Missouri schools, helping every school, every child, every day reach their potential. In June of 2020, the MariaA's RIDE Committee for R, racism, I, inclusion, D, diversity, E, and equity was begun. And one of the first things that we did was draft this diversity statement. This is a paraphrase of the longer one, and I'll put a link in the chat to our website where you can read the rest of it. But basically, it was a promise to look within our own organization and within ourselves to recognize practices that create circumstances of exclusion and to help other people as we're all working together to foster inclusive arts opportunities. And the underlying premise is everyone suffers in an environment of systemic racism and bias. So we are working toward the goal of moving the needle forward and toward a more equitable way of being. And here's a few of the things that we have done thus far. If you'd like any further details on any of this work, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to put my contact information in the chat here shortly. And I invite ongoing conversations in any of our work. So today we are so pleased to welcome MariaA Ellis, who is not only a member of our board of directors, but she is also the chairperson of what we call our RIDE committee that deals with the issues of racism, inclusion, diversity, and equity. Her bio is listed there. Some of you might have already started to read it, and I won't read it to you, but suffice to say, she's a very busy lady, and she is an amazing leader, and we are so honestly so blessed to have her at the helm. So without further ado, I am going to mute myself and place all those links in the chat that I told you I would place there, and turn it over to our leader and our presenter tonight, MariaA Ellis. If you are talking, Maria, we cannot hear you right now. You might still be muted, so I'm not sure. Are you talking?
It wouldn't be Zoom if I didn't do that.
All right.
So
well, let's come on back.
Restart.
Okay, want me to do my fancy intro again? Please.
No,
and welcome.
Don't do it again. I was saying, so what I was saying is, I said it's so great to thank you all for coming. And I was saying that, you know, when people read your bio, it's like, that's great, but you also be looking across your shoulder, like, who in the world are they talking about? Like, that's just, it's so much. So thank you. If you read the bio, thank you. Thank you all so much for being a part of this session. I want to ask, I know this is being recorded, but I want to ask that you all conversate with me. If you have questions at any time, stop me and ask. I can go through this little fancy PowerPoint presentation that I created for you all, but sometimes I think we get more answers when we just talk to each other. So if you all would engage me in talking, I would really appreciate that. Those who, I can see your beautiful faces, thank you. Those who are here in the chat and don't want to show your screen, your face, thank you. I appreciate you all for being here. Let's jump right in with a blueprint for diversity. And I know what you're probably saying, Maria, that is not blue, that's pink. But if you know me and you follow me, you know that pink is my favorite color. And so just about everything I do is going to, see, that's what I'm talking about. Everything I do is going to be pink. So this is a blueprint for diversity in pink. Today's lesson, we're going to talk about my background, what is diversity. We're going to talk about lessons. We'll talk about appropriation. We're going to talk about how we reset in this new coming school year, questions, and then I'll give you information on how to contact me. And I'm sure Phyllis will provide information on how to contact the Missouri Arts Association when we get done. So that's our introduction. And here we go. Who is MariaA Ellis? All right. So MariaA Ellis, I am a theater and choir kid. I have been a part of somebody's performance for as long as I can remember. My father is one of 9, and his sisters and brothers, they had a singing group called the Chapman Singers, and they would travel around Missouri, and they're from Maryland, so they would go back up to Maryland, and they would sing at all these different churches. And being a little person who liked to sing, sometimes if I was lucky, they would allow me to sing with them and be on the stage, and that was really fun when you're little. My mother is a church choir president. She's been a church choir president forever. She is still church choir president today, which is a long time to hold a job, volunteer for a job. And she took us to choir rehearsal every week, every Tuesday. There's 4 of us, and all 4 of us went to choir rehearsal. And I learned at a very early age that I could hear music really well. My ear was really developed as a kid. And I was that kid, like when people were singing the wrong notes, I would be like, yeah, you singing la, but you should be singing la. And then like that was getting me like popped in the mouth because nobody wants to hear the 5-year-old saying they singing the wrong note, even though I was right. Nobody wants to hear that, but that's okay. I grew up in church. We grew up apostolic. Which is very, very strict church. That this is going to play a part later on. So it's very strict. I grew up not wearing pants. I grew up not being able to go to the movies. I grew up, I guess I can kind of say sheltered a little bit. I grew up not being able to go to the parties. So if somebody was having a party at their house, I was not going to that. I didn't even ask. I grew up listening to gospel music. The only non-gospel person we could listen to was Michael Jackson, because he was the king of pop back then in the 80s. So Michael Jackson was always cool. You could listen to him. But when my parents left the house, then we were listening to everything that was on BET. So that was my rap and hip hop pop background. VH1, MTV was all happening on Saturdays when they were not in the house. I can say that now because I'm almost 40 and I won't get in trouble for it now. So that was my background. I grew up in the Jennings School District. So Jennings is in St. Louis, Missouri. And at the time, Jennings was changing. So when I started school, my classroom was mixed. It was half white and half Black. All right. And I remember being a Girl Scout. I was a Daisy, and my Girl Scout leaders were white women, and we were one big happy family. Nobody discussed race or anything like that. We was just girls who was doing Girl Scout stuff. We were selling cookies. We were going on field trips. We were having sleepovers. We were friends with just all different kinds of people. All right. And then I remember in 2nd grade, the girls in my Girl Scout troop, those girls started going to the private schools. They were no longer going to the public school. I remember in 3rd grade moving to a different school where there were still white people, but it was becoming more and more Black. In the 6th grade, we had there was a tax proposal, and they were telling the people in the area that if you guys don't increase the taxes, we're going to lose our buses, the buses to get us to school. So the buses took, not only did the buses take you to school, but if you were in the gifted program like I was, the buses took you to the gifted program, which was at the high school. If you were in the band, and you can join band in 6th grade, the buses took you to band, okay? Well, the tax thing didn't pass. And so we lost our buses. And so you had to walk to school, or you had to take a bi-state bus to school. And I just thought I remember being in 6th grade thinking, that's a lot to ask little people to take a bi-state bus to go to school. But that was the school district. Needless to say, I did not join band because I was also a choir kid. And when I had the choice of band and choir, I'm going with choir because I'm a choir kid. When I was in choir, I grew up in choir every year. I was part of, we had like a show choir, but not show choir like what it is now with the costumes and all that kind of stuff. It was not that. It was just kids who stayed at the school who sang in choir. And we sang all type of musicals. So my choir teacher, Mr. Hearns, I remember that's where I first learned about Grease, and where I first learned about, I had my first solo singing Hopelessly Devoted to You, okay? And I was so proud of myself in 4th grade singing Hopelessly Devoted, but I got scared. And so I had my friends, they was gonna sing with me, but the night of the performance, they didn't step up to the mic. And so it was just me at the mic singing by myself. So I'm very grateful that I knew the song and that I could sing in tune. So that's what I grew up in. But in 6th grade, we had a new teacher, and she said, Maria, I have this choir that I want you to audition for. And I said, okay. She said, it's an honor choir, and it's the St. Louis Children's Choirs. Well, the St. Louis Children's Choirs is this amazing choral program that they had a program where they were like offering people to come from the community to come sing with them in a concert. We would call it an honor choir nowadays, right? And so they gave you a packet of music that you had to learn. And I remember sitting at home with my cassette. People who are young and don't know what that is, that's a little tape player that you put inside a radio, you push the button, you press it, and then music comes out. And when it gets messed up, you take a little pencil and you wind it so you can play the tapes again. Y'all remember tapes? Don't act like I'm not that old. I'm not the only person that's almost 40 on this call. Don't do me like that. So I would sit in my room and I would listen to this music. And this was one, y'all can't see it. Well, I remember that they had a piece from Bach called Bis du bei mir. And I was so excited because I was learning this music in a different language. And then they had a song about a Jabberwocky. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then there was a song about feel good. And I said, feel good, that's gospel. I'm back at home. I know exactly what to do with this one. And I remember going to Ladue High School to go to rehearsal. And at Ladue High School, this high school had like carpet on the floor. And I was like, wait a minute, they got carpet in the school? And I remember that there were only 3 Black people at this honor choir thing. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. But I remember that there were not a lot of kids who came from school districts that I knew of. It was a lot of the predominantly white school districts. And as a kid, I just said, well, Maria, you just got to do a good job because you want to be a part of this choir. Needless to say, it wasn't an audition. Everybody was in there. Everybody made the choir. We all sang. And then they passed out a pamphlet about joining the choir. And I wanted to join so bad, but I opened up the pamphlet and I looked down and it says $400 to join. And I said, I know Diane Chapman is not paying $400 for me to sing in choir, and we sing every Sunday for free. So needless to say, I couldn't join the St. Louis Children's Choirs. And, you know, I knew we didn't have the money. We weren't poor, but we just didn't have $400 for one kid, if that makes sense. So I stayed with drama and music and choir as I got through through middle school. And in middle school, I was a part of the production, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, where I played Violet. And I also was a part of the drama team. And in the drama team, we went everywhere. Like Mr. Doug Irwin, Dr. Doug Irwin was my teacher. And he took us to every theater in St. Louis. Every time a production came to St. Louis, we went. We went to see everything, everywhere. And that just really broadened my understanding about the theater, because we were going so often that I learned theater etiquette, and I learned about performing and things like that. And I had wrote in my book that I wanted to be a Broadway star, and that's what I was going to do with life, because I just love performing. One of the things that we did as part of the drama team, though, is we went to competition. So we went to, I'm going to take the screen down. Y'all can see my picture. I'll put it back up later. We went to state. And in going to state, I was going to participate in the storytelling competition, because that was my thing, was storytelling. And I had my outfit picked out, and Mr. Irwin said, "We need you to wear nude stockings." And I was like, okay, nude. I was used to wearing off black because that's what we wore at church. But he said, wear nude stockings. And I remember going to the store and buying nude stockings and putting them on and saying, "These don't match my legs." And I said, this make me look like I got like ashy old lady legs. Like this ain't right. But because the teacher said that we needed nude, I put on the nude stockings. And so I remember having on a white dress that had blue flowers. And I remember throughout the sitting in the audience, study pulling at my dress, because I didn't want these nude stockings to show when I got up to perform, because they didn't match. But I just didn't know enough about stockings, I guess, to say like, hey, these right here don't match. And my mother was like, well, they said you need nude. So we went and bought nude. All right, let's keep going. Fast forward to high school, where I'm class president and doing all this awesome stuff. And I was at a school, Riverview Gardens High School, that we were told constantly that, your school is on the verge of losing accreditation. And so when you all leave, your diplomas may not mean anything, because, Franklin, I'm gonna mute you. So your diplomas may not mean anything because you guys are probably going to be I remember that. And I remember like feeling like, why am I going through all this stuff to be a part of all these activities and to try to earn all these scholarships, if when I leave, it's not going to mean anything. But nevertheless, I pursued and kept going on with school and stuff. And I remember being cast as Cinderella in our play. And I was so excited to be Cinderella, because of course, I'm the title character. What? She's amazing. Let's go. Let's do this. Super excited. And my stepmother in the play, she said, "Maria, I'm going to take you to get your hair done." And I was like, that is really nice of her. And she was white, and she took me to a white salon. And I was like, I don't know how this is going to turn out, because I don't know if they know how to do my hair. And sure enough, they put a lot of spritz in my hair to try to, I guess, to get it to stay down. My hair was relaxed, so it was straight, but they didn't know how to do black hair. And they didn't understand that certain materials work in white hair, but it does not work in black hair. And so I remember my hair and being grateful that somebody paid for it. I mean, my mama could have paid for it. We had money to pay for her. But, I'm grateful that you were nice to pay for it, but also not feeling beautiful like Cinderella because of my hair. I remember going and getting makeup, and makeup not matching my skin tone, and being like 2 and 3 shades lighter, because the person who picked the makeup was white and just bought the black makeup, not knowing that even though I'm black, I'm not the same complexion as Leon or as Abigail. So we dealt with that. All right. And that was my growing up. Now, I ended up going to the University of Missouri, St. Louis, which was a predominantly white school. And when I got to that school and we're singing all this music, everybody knew how to sight read all this wonderful music. And I'm looking around like, how y'all know how to do that? Like, where did y'all learn that? Because in my school, that's not how we learned. We learned everything by rote or via the oral tradition. And I remember when we were going through our textbooks and we were learning about Bach and Mozart and all that kind of stuff, I remember being lost because I had never learned about these people. These people weren't in my textbooks at school. Our textbooks back in the day was just like musicals. You sang like stuff from Disney. We didn't sing Bach and Beethoven, but I knew who Bach was, remember, because I did the program in 6th grade. but that's all I knew. I remember even before I got to UMSL reading the audition, and it said you had to sing a piece in a foreign language. And I'm like, where am I supposed to learn a piece in a foreign language? Like, nobody ever taught me that. So how do I even audition for this program when I don't have the tools to begin with? Does that make sense? So fast forward, I went ahead and I found somebody who could teach me Lasciatemi morire in Italian, and I performed that and got into the program and did another Broadway musical song, got into the program. But I remember being in undergrad, and this wasn't that long ago because this is my second career. So I remember being an undergrad and feeling like I'm lost. And all of these people come in knowing all these things, but I don't know any of this stuff. So here we are, diversity training. And I'm going to talk about it from my lens as not only an educator, but also as a student who was not the majority when it came to things in college, and not being taught by teachers who look like me, if that makes sense. All right. If you have questions, please feel free to stop me at any time and I will answer them for you. I'm sharing my screen. Can y'all see that okay? Thank you so much. All right. So Maya Angelou said that we should all know that diversity makes for a rich tapestry. And what we must understand is that all of the threads of the tapestry are equal in value, no matter their color. I'm not a rug fan in my house. My husband is, so he makes us buy rugs because he really likes rugs. But when I buy a rug, I never look at a rug and say, I only like the pink that's in the rug. No, we bought the entire rug because we like the rug. And that's kind of like how we have to be when it comes to diversity. You have to like every bit of it. And even the parts that you don't know a whole lot about, you have to find ways to teach all those parts, because what you don't want is for your students to feel like you taught a whole lesson and they weren't a part of it at all because they couldn't connect with it. I'll get into that a little bit more. Let's keep going. So what is diversity and equity? Let's talk about it. So whereas diversity refers to all the many ways that people differ, equity is about creating fair access, opportunity, and advancement for all of those different people. It's about creating a fair playing field, to use a familiar metaphor. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing right now so we can talk. So let's talk about diversity and what that looks like in our programs. I know I see choral people on here. I know I have dance people on here. I'm going to assume that I have theater people on here. If you are in the theater, please like put that in the chat or whatnot. I see college professors on here. But what does that look like in our program? Well, I'll tell you how it is in my program. Visual arts. There you go. Visual arts. Thank you, visual arts person. I can tell you how it is in my program. Because my background is gospel music, my go-to is always gospel music. Why? Because that's what I know. It's familiar. I could teach a gospel song right now. I can do that without thinking about it because that's my background. I've been doing that for almost 40 years. Jesus Christ. It sounds so bad when you have to say it out loud, but yeah, almost 40 years. I'm not 40 yet. Oh, Lord. Okay. Sorry, I had a moment. But for almost 40 years, I've been teaching, singing, engulfed in gospel music. So if I was going to teach a class, they said, Maria, what can you teach about? Gospel music. That's what I'm teaching. But that's not everybody's background. And although gospel music is very important to me, may not be important to you. And it may not be what my kids can connect with. And I always want to make sure that I have something that they connect with, okay? So as teachers, we have to find ways that we teach even the things that we don't know about. I had to study classical music when I got to college. And because that's not my world at all, I had to like study. And you know, when you say it twice, that's with emphasis. So I had to study classical music. I had to sit down with books and go to the library and buy books on Bach and Haydn and Mozart and all these other people, because I really wanted to understand and engulf myself in this art form. Because the school I went to said, this art form is important. Everything that we're going to teach you through this art form. So I'm already lost because I don't know the art form. And then I'm lost a second time because, like I just told you, I didn't learn the sight reading stuff in school. So I'm double lost, but I'm really trying because I want to really understand classical music. And every example that they give me, none of this stuff is relating to me. One of the first lessons that we were taught was, it was about pitch. And it was like, listen to the pitch through this trumpet solo by Beethoven. And I'm like, what am I even listening to? Why can't you just have somebody just play a regular trumpet? Why does it have to be through Beethoven? Because if it's through Beethoven, I don't know what the other symphony instruments are. I'm lost. Because they presented it in a way that would work for a lot of people. But for me, my background, it didn't work for me. And I'm not saying I'm the only one, but I can say that when I started the music program, there were many people who looked like me who started the program. There were not many people who looked like me who finished the program. And when I talk to people about, like, why didn't you stay? A lot of them say, well, because it wasn't relatable. It didn't hit the things that I needed to hit. We didn't start doing music, I understood, until we got to Theory 3 when we analyzed Michael Jackson. Oh, Michael Jackson, I know him. I can get with that. Oh, this is the chord pattern he was doing in Billie Jean. Got it. I understand that. So we have to find ways that make the music, or make whatever we're teaching, equitable, meaning giving everybody a fair playing field so that they can be a part of it too. Let me show you my next slide. I'm gonna go back to share my screen because you got to say, if you don't say I'm gonna share my screen, it don't work. So I got to say I'm gonna share my screen. All right. So look at this, and let's talk. So talk back to me. We got equality with everybody getting one stool, right? We got equity. Well, we got everybody getting one stool, but the little guy in the purple shirt can barely see. We got equity where the tall person can see, we got the one little guy in the red who has a stool, and then the little guy gets two stools so he can see. And then we got liberation, where we just take away the fence and then everybody can see. Now, I would love for liberation to be that they was actually in the stands at the game. To me, that's actually liberation versus you standing on the sideline looking over the fence. But let's talk about this. How do we relate this to the arts? Well, we got dance people, and this the part like y'all gotta unmute and like actually talk to me. How do we relate this to the arts, to what we do? And I'll start. I'm getting ready to teach high school at a school that's predominantly Black. Let me rephrase that. I'm getting ready to teach high school at a school that's all Black. It's not predominantly, it's all Black. The school is 99.9% free and reduced lunch. The school is in the heart of the hood, and I'm just gonna call it what it is. It's in the heart of the hood. It's in a place where crime is probably happening at all times of the day. It's in a school where the graduation rate is 67%. 14% of the students read at level, and I believe 2% of the students do math at level. But I'm going to be their teacher. So I can come in there with my big Bach and Beethoven, Mozart posters, say, yes, I'm your fancy choir teacher and we're going to learn choir. I can do that. Them kids don't care nothing about Bach and Beethoven. They don't care about them people. Why not? Well, it don't relate to them. Beethoven ain't helping them right now, or what they're doing in school right now. That's not helping them. So what can I do to reach them right now? I'm a big TikTok fan. I'm a TikToker. I love it. And one thing that I plan to do is to take the things that they already know about and use that to teach music. The one song that's trending on TikTok right now is Into the Thick of It. Into the Thick of It. And that's from the Backyardigans. And all my music teacher people, look up the Backyardigans. They have really good songs. All their songs are bops. Look them up. But I'll use TikTok because that's something that they know. And then I can connect that back to a lesson and teach. And I can say, well, this is a steady beat, dot, 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 dot. And I teach about steady beat. And then I can take it back and relate it through all these different genres of music. So I'm teaching in a way, I'm not teaching like, this is white, this is black, blah, blah. No, I'm teaching, so this is what you know. Let me take it back to where it came from. And if Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, if they pop up in that line, then I'm gonna talk about that. I'm going to teach about different genres of music. Why? Because Sumner High School is the oldest Black high school on this side of the Mississippi River. Sumner High School is where Tina Turner, Ike Turner, Grace Brumbry, is where they graduated from, where Arthur Ashe graduated from. All of these celebrities that come from St. Louis came from this school. I want to honor the history of that school, but I also want to honor where they are now. Yes, you guys may not be at the levels you want to be at, but look at where we can go. And I'll take you through that through the music. I'll take you through that through what you know. Y'all like eating McDonald's? Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Okay, well, let's talk about this ba-da-ba-ba-ba. And what does that look like in sight reading? Because remember, I couldn't sight read. So let's learn how to sight read that. I'm going to give them things that they know and take them and teach them all these different genres of music. Because as a teacher, I'm the expert. They look at me as the expert. They look at me like Miss E's supposed to know everything. And even though Miss E don't know everything, I'm standing in front of you as the person who's supposed to know everything. So things I don't know, guess what I'm going to do? I am going to go look them up. And I'm going to tell my kids on the first day of school, I'm your teacher. I'm here to teach all the things, but stuff that I don't know, I'm going to tell you I don't know, and I'm going to go find out. And I'm also going to teach you that I am not the authority on everything. I'm not. If somebody said, Miss E, can we learn about African drumming? We sure can, but I'm not from Africa and I know nothing about those drums. So let me call somebody who does. And I'll bring that person to the class, or now we can Zoom people in. I'll Zoom that person in so that we can talk about that. But I need them to know about all these different drums. Why? Because my kids, remember I told you it's 99% Black. Well, all of them went and seen Black Panther, right? There's a scene in Black Panther that right before T'Challa goes to war, they have all these different drums and all this tribal music that they're playing. Well, that's part of their history that I want them to know about. But I want them to know about those drums because those drums are significant. It's significant to African culture. So I'm going to use things that they know to teach about. Do the same thing in dance. I'll do the same thing in theater. The pictures that's going up on my walls will be pictures of all these different people. Some who look like them, some who don't. But I have to honor, because of the history of the school, I need to honor the people that came from that school and show them that Grace Brumbry, she's an opera singer. Yeah, so Black people sing opera. I need you to know that. I have to honor that we had politicians who come from this school. I have to honor that we have media personalities who come from this school. I need to honor that we had Tina Turner, who is worldwide, that Chuck Berry comes from this school. And Chuck Berry didn't sing hip hop or pop or gospel. He's a rock and roll guy. And your what you think rock and roll may have been, where you may think it is just a white guy with a guitar, blah, 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 blah. But it was somebody that was black that started this. I need to show them that. And I often see teachers who just stick with what they know and they gloss over everything else they don't know, or, maybe that, Black History Month, we try to figure out what we're going to do on January 30th for Black History Month. And then it's a gloss over of Black History Month. And then as students, it seems like it's just it doesn't seem genuine. It just seems like you're just doing that for the month, when the entire year we could have been talking about that. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes? Okay, anybody got a question so far? No? Y'all still with me? Comments? No comments, no questions? All right, I'm gonna keep going. All right, so let's go back to the slideshow. So my question to you all is, how do we relate this to the arts? Somebody tell me, this is where you talk back to me. How do we relate this to what we do? How do we make it so it's liberation? Actually, so they at the game, but how do we liberate it for everybody? What can you do in your classroom to make sure that it's liberating for all your students?
Hello, Maria, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, let me unplug this. I think that one thing is to have the conversations with students. I want to see here because I have two screens. To have the conversation with students and ask them what they are also living through, because I think that it can be also overwhelming for them. So to find a middle between the way that you want to teach, right, but also we also learn as professors, right, as teachers. So to learn from them, how do they want to learn the music? How do they want to live the music? What do you think about this?
I think that's awesome. I learn a lot from my students. I grew up, like I told you in the beginning, I grew up apostolic, which is very, 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 very religious. And I did not know many people who identified as homosexual growing up. I didn't know many people who identified as that. So when I went to student teach, I had students who were transgender. Okay, that's a whole nother world for me because I didn't know anybody like that, right? It was a different world. But I had to take what I was taught as a kid. That's great. That's what I was taught. But I can't use it in my classroom because in my classroom, I got to be able to reach everybody. Does that make sense? I got to be able to reach them. So one of my classes, I think I had like 4 or 5 kids who identified with the LGBTQ community. And I said, look, I need y'all, we need to have a serious talk. And they said, what's going on, Missy? I said, I want to know. I need to understand because I don't know this world. So I need y'all to educate me. And they were so happy to tell me about everything. And this means that, and that means that, and this means that, and that. And I was like, really? That's what it meant? They was like, yeah, Missy, that's what it means. But not only did I learn, but as a class, we learned. And as a class, I see them bonding with each other. I see kids smiling because they're now talking about what they know. Now I use that because that's not my world. If I was in the dance world, I would be lost like Olivia, honey, because I don't know anything about dance. I can't dance. I try to, but that's not my world. But I would be calling people and I would say, now I want to teach dance. I don't know why they got me teaching dance, but I want to learn because I need to teach. What do these kids need to know? And Alice, I definitely will be calling you. But what do they need to know? And then I'm asking the kids who know how to dance, teach me.
Can I please comment on that now?
You sure can.
So I think that there is a perception of dance that you need to have an extraordinary level of technique or to be a dancer, and usually that technique is in the racist world that is so predominant is ballet is seen as the preeminent technique, and who the hell can do that? I personally can, fake 1 or 2 hip hop gestures. That's the end of the story. I can move my hips, I can do a little African-based dance, but so I think that the notion of starting from where people are, I think that that's really crucial. I used to, when I taught dance history, I always ask people's dance background, and they'd say, well, I don't have any. If they did, they took ballet. It was mostly young women. It is at Lindenwood University. But I say, who's a secret living room dancer? Who's ever danced at a party? Who's ever danced at a wedding? And then all of a sudden, almost everybody, Phyllis is raising her hand, I love it. Almost everybody in the class is dancing, right? So I think that the other place for me, when I do residencies, the perspective is always from creative movement. And the one last thing I want to say is just what is this? The elementary school that's near the new NSA place that they're building. I can't think of the name, but anyways, I did a residency there. Does anybody who does elementary school ever come across the book Owen and Mizzy? It's true. It's true story. Owen was a probably dead now. He's a hippopotamus. And Mazee is a giant tortoise. And Owen, in one of the African tsunamis, got orphaned, and he got taken to this animal farm. And for some reason, he and Mazee bonded. Maybe it was the shape, God knows. And I thought, good grief, if these two, species can get along, anybody can get along. So I use that as a basis of residency. And the one other thing I wanted to say about that, which gave me into world music, it gave me into African-based movement, right? And this is all Black school. But another actual tsunami happened while I was teaching that section of the dance. They were doing like waves and things. And people, I know these kids had TVs on in the house all the time. And I'm like, oh boy, so many people died. And anybody know anybody who died? These are second graders, just breaks your heart, And I'm sorry, it's Carlos who talked about that place. And so we were able to go to that really deep place. And then when these boys who couldn't stand next to each other for 2 seconds had to take Owen to the animal farm, they're like, and imaginary Owen, don't drop Owen, don't drop Owen, don't drop Owen. And so this whole level of compassion arose in this class. From all these different places.
But that's the thing about what we do that's different from, and I'm sorry if I got math and science teachers and stuff on here, I'm sorry. That's the thing about what we do as people from the arts community. Our stuff reaches everybody. Like, you don't have to be at a certain math level or something. Everybody vibes to music. Everybody, when they see good art, everybody's like, I love the picture. Now, we may not know the technical terms about the art, but we all can recognize this is good art. I love the dance move. Everybody at the family reunion is doing the cha-cha slide in my family reunion, right? Matter of fact, if you go to a baseball game, that everybody clap your hands, everybody's clapping. Nobody's looking around and saying, that's only for the Black people. It's Black culture. So we're not going to clap. Only the Black people can clap. No, everybody's doing it. So with our fields, we reach everybody, which is why we have to teach all the things. Now, I get when some people be like, well, you know what, Maria, I don't want to be accused of cultural appropriation. So I don't want to teach this or that because that's not my culture. Well, let's talk about that. Thing number one. Let's talk about American culture. Somebody type in the chat. I need people type in the chat. What is American culture? If you could just type in the chat, what's American culture? What is the culture of America? These great United States, what is our culture? Native Americans is our culture. That's the culture of the whole United States. Our culture is everybody's, inclusive of so many cultures. Yes. So I love watching the Olympics. I love it. And I love how when Spain comes out, everybody from Spain looks like they came from Spain. And when Jamaica comes out, everybody from Jamaica look like they came from Jamaica. And when America comes out, it look like everybody and their mama, just one whole crowd of folks that don't look alike at all. And I'll be like, that's my country. There's so many different facets of us as Americans. I can't say that we have one type of culture because there's so many cultures mixed in America. The culture of St. Louis is very different than the culture of St. Charles County. So I live in St. Charles County. I grew up in St. Louis. It's two very different cultures. We're in the same state. The culture of Maria's house is very different than the culture at my brother's house. At my brother's house, his kids can run through the house. In my house, you can't run through my house. I ain't got that kind of house. I ain't got the run through kind of house. My kids older, they know better than to run through the house. So cultures are different. So we have to understand that. Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, that's not my culture. But at UMSL, University of Missouri, St. Louis, I was required to learn the Italian arias. That's not my culture, but I was required to learn it. I was judged on how good I could sing Une voce poca fa. Don't ask me to do it now because I probably mess up the language and do it wrong. But that's not my culture. But that's what I was taught. To be a good musician, I have to learn these languages. What I wasn't taught or what wasn't valued was my own culture. I think in my world history book, I think there are probably 3 Black people listed in my history book for music. I remember hearing people saying, you can audition, but don't sing the gospel piece. Don't sing anything gospel if you want to audition. And I'm like, but that's what I know. That's the one music I know I would do good on because that's my culture. That's what I know. But so many times we don't honor everybody's culture and we try to make everybody fit into this little rectangle or a little box. I didn't have a box, so you pretend it's a box. Everybody fit into this box because that's what somebody said was our culture. You all just told me that American culture is everybody, which means we have to teach all the different pieces of America. Let's talk cultural appropriation. I was talking to my professor friend, Matthew Henry, who is an amazing human. I'll go back to that one. And I had him on my show and we were talking about cultural appropriation. He's white and he teaches African drumming. And he is not from Africa. He is from St. Louis. And I asked him, I said, what do people say to you about being white teaching African drumming? And he said, well, Maria, I would never call myself the authority on African drumming because it's not my culture. So cultural authority is the person whose culture it actually is. He said, but I would call myself an expert. And an expert is a person who studied, researched, and spoke with cultural authorities and actually learned the art form. I'm not asking us all to be experts at what we do, but we can't, be authorities at what we do, but we can be experts. We can research things that I don't know. I research and I do the homework. That's my job as a teacher. It's my job to teach. So I'm going to do my homework. And stuff that I don't understand, the world is so different now. Think about this. Right now, if you're on social media, you have access to thousands and thousands and thousands of people, right? And at any time, you can ask the question. You can say, hey, look, I'm getting ready to teach, and I've done it myself. I'm getting ready to teach Little Shop of Horrors. I'm not from New York. Can somebody educate me on what it's like to live on Skid Row or where that came from? I'm making this up as I go, but where that came from, blah, 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 blah. And I guarantee you somebody is going to get on there and say, well, hey, this is ... And if you're like the choir community, which I think I want to hope that there are communities for like visual art people where y'all all talk. And I know on Facebook, there's I'm a choir director group and I'm an elementary teacher and I'm a high school teacher and I'm a middle school teacher. I hope that other communities like I'm a dance teacher or I'm a visual arts or I'm a theater person. I hope there are groups like that on Facebook where you can ask people. And if you don't have people that you can ask your students because they may know people. And now they feel like they're a part of your lesson. Does that make sense? So finding ways to do the homework so you can be an expert. You don't have to be an authority, but you need to just be an expert. Expert comes from studying. Well, we all know how to study. We all got all these fancy degrees. So we know how to study. As performers, we can live music, right? You can, or do live music, You go on YouTube, look, wasn't no YouTube when oh Lord, I feel like I'm old. Wasn't no YouTube back in the day, but now if you want to learn somebody's culture, you can pull it up on YouTube, you can talk about it. Hey kids, what are y'all seeing? What do we see? What does this look like? Then you bring in an authority. So those are ways that you can add culture so you can be a cultural expert. Anyone can be an expert, but not everyone can be an authority. Again, authority is the person that comes from that culture, all right? What can we do now to reset? Well, I don't know what school has been like since the pandemic, but I think 2020 was a great year for us to reset. And we reset our way of thinking. We reset our classrooms. We reset what we're teaching. I'm not saying you got to go and change your whole lesson plan. I'm not saying that 2 weeks before we start going back to school, or those who are already back. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, if your lesson is about, I'm gonna go with ballet. Let's just say you're teaching about ballet. There are so many programs about ballet. I wouldn't just teach it through my lens of what I know. Now, I'm not a dancer, but I do know that Misty Copeland is a ballet dancer. And I would talk about Misty Copeland because she's one of the best ballet dancers in the world. I do know that Debbie Allen she has a studio where part of what they do is ballet. And Debbie Allen is a fantastic choreographer and director and all the other stuff that she does. But she's a dancer. And I do know that J-Lo is a dancer. Because I used to watch and Live in Color growing up, and she was one of the Fly Girls. And she's an amazing dancer. And there are all these different people, Shakira and all, they come from all these different cultures and different backgrounds, and they all dance. Dance is the common denominator. But the culture and the dance moves may be different. I can teach you everything about dance from those lenses of all those other people. That's diversity. That's inclusivity. I sometimes think we try to make it too hard. Like, we don't make it hard. Just use what we have. You got all these famous people doing all this stuff. Use those people. It's for educational purposes, which I think we can use for all of our classrooms. All right, so let's keep going. I'm gonna go back. I only got a few minutes left. So as we reset, I want us to think about, what are you putting on your walls? What's on your walls? Now, I created this, and I want to show it to you because in music, we use these hand signs to sing the scales, right? Especially in choir. I don't know if they use solfege in the band world. Somebody have to tell me. I don't know. That's not my world. I'm a choir kid. And I remember seeing going to all these conferences and seeing posters and programs, and they're all white people. And I was like, that's nice, but my kids are not white. I want to use things that represent my kids. And then I said, but Maria, if you only pick hands that are just one shade of black, are you really representing all the black people? What about the Hispanic people? What about brown people? What about people who are mixed race? So I said, okay, well, I can do a poster that has a variety of shades of hands, because now everybody can feel like they're included. Find one that matches your skin tone, that's close to you, and you can feel included. That's what I want. I want them all to feel included. I also know that almost every month is somebody's month. Of course, we got Black History Month in February, but we have Women in Irish American Month, and we have Deaf History Month, and Asian Pacific, and Jewish, and Gay Pride, and Latino, and Hispanic, and American Indian, and all these different months. And a lot of these months occur during our school year, which means we can be highlighting different people the entire year. The pictures of your classroom, if you had a picture, I'm gonna go back to the music world. If you had a wall of composers, then don't just show me Bach, Beethoven, Mozart. Show me that Florence Price, who's Black, was a composer. Show me how Michael Jackson, and I don't care what you say about him, Michael Jackson still was an incredible person, composer. What he did in his private life, that's what he did. And what he did in his private life doesn't take away from his music. He still was a brilliant mind. If we just talk of music, he was a brilliant mind. If we go back through Beethoven and Bach and all them kind of folk lives, we'll see some stuff that we probably wouldn't want to discuss in the classroom either. Everybody got skeletons, even us. We all got some stuff that you'd be like, you know what, can you take that part out before you print my biography? Lord, I know you're finna read my biography when I get to heaven. Can you skip over that part? Because I wasn't on the right track on that part. You know what I mean? I wouldn't focus on that. I want to talk about him as a musician. I want to talk about the stuff, how he used to write for all these people. I want to talk about his business mind. That's relatable. Why is his business mind relatable? Because now everybody trying to become an influencer or one on social media so you can get them checks. I need you to watch my YouTube so I can get a check. But as your teacher, I want to make sure just because you got a check that you know how to handle your money, how to handle your business. You know what I mean? So using those things and putting up pictures of people that are from, and also Beethoven, them, all them people dead. So what about the live people that's doing stuff now? Same with the stuff with the other art forms. I mean, don't just pull everybody that's dead. Show me people that are living now. I can relate better to people who are living now versus people who died 200 years ago. Yeah, okay. So I don't, Phyllis, is this over at 8? Because I think I got like 4 minutes. I feel like I didn't talk too much. Phyllis, is it over at 8?
It is over at 8, but you're
Okay,
not.
I got 4 minutes. I hope that what I said is making sense. There's no way I can teach about diversity and equity in an hour. That's not possible at all. I will say that things that you don't know, Google it. And if whatever you still can't figure out from Google and YouTube and Wikipedia and all them kind of places, then you ask somebody. And there's always somebody that wants to help. I'm the kind of person, I'd rather you ask than to just do something wrong. Just ask me, Maria, I want to do the spiritual. Should we say this, that? And then my response is yes. Why you say that? Because that's how they talk back then. That's how we're being authentic. That's what they said. I don't want to use 21st century English with the people from the 1800s because they didn't talk like that. That's not authentic. And that's not making fun of the race. That's being authentic to the piece. Does that make sense? Yes. All right, it's 7:57. If you have a question, because I'm gonna run out of time. If you have a question, please feel free to email me. My email is info@, I'm putting it in the chat, girlconductor.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Please follow me. You can ask me whatever you want to. You don't feel like I don't want to ask this because I don't want her to think I'm stupid. I'm not going to think you're stupid. And I ask a lot of dumb questions every day. Like I even text my professor and I'd be like, I'm going to ask you a dumb question. Don't judge me. But can you tell me what polyphony means again? Just tell me again. I know what it means, but just tell me what it means again. You know what I mean? Because I'm not afraid to ask questions or whatnot. But please email me or message me on Facebook. Thank you all so much for taking an hour out of your day to spend time with me to learn about diversity and inclusion. I really appreciate it. And Phyllis, with 2 minutes left, I'm gonna turn it back over to you. Thank you. Thank you all.
Well, thank you, Maria. Awesome work. I'm so glad to have you sharing tonight and for leading us and giving us lots of food for thought. If anyone, I don't know if you are able, Maria, but I'm going to stay around for another 10 minutes. If there are people who want to pose some questions or just exchange some additional ideas, we're just going to hang around for another 10 minutes or so and field whatever questions that we might have. If you are interested, or if your current situation in life, if you would benefit from a continuing education certificate, all you need to do is send an email to me, director@MOAAE, or you can drop it in the chat that you want me to send you a certificate, and I'll be happy to do that. And I want to say thank you again for coming tonight. And I hope you can all access the updates, which links you to some of our professional learning communities. And one of the areas that the RIDE committee is pursuing is sponsoring a professional learning community that would meet once a month or so, that would allow for an exchange of ideas or questions and answers. Like Maria gave the example just a moment ago. What do you think about using this pronunciation with this particular piece? Or what do you think about just to have a forum and an opportunity to exchange ideas, so that if there are any questions or concerns or integrity issues about bringing cultural examples from places or experiences that are not your personal background, we're planning to start those in October. But if there is a desire for more, we We might start them earlier, but that's the plan right now. I'm going to place in the chat a link to a survey, which we would so appreciate anyone and everyone filling out. It gives us feedback about anything you want to share in terms of structure, in terms of content, your desires, your hopes for the future. And it also helps us collect demographic information, which is really helpful when we are explaining to our funders or pursuing additional grants about the outreach that we were able to reach when we're doing events like this. And I'm so thrilled to have so many of you who are here from Missouri, but also those who have found their way to this community from a variety of places across the United States. And I especially want to say a shout out to Abby Bierhanu, who placed the information about tonight's session into the Anti-Racist Art Teacher Forum on Facebook. And we're just glad to be partners in this work. We want to continue to move things forward. And thank you again, Maria, for a great enlightening time. It is 8:01. If you have to step away, we completely understand. But if you want to stick around for another little while, I'm here to hang out. And thanks for coming, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you. So I'm here if you guys have questions. Anybody who has another question, I'll be here for a minute to answer questions.
Yep, feel free to unmute. And or if you feel more inclined to put it in the chat, I'll read it out from there.
Maria, your story was very inspiring and I related to a lot of it. So thank you. You're just great at communicating these ideas, and I totally related. When you said the stocking story, I was like, ashy. That's how I felt. So I very much understood that. So thank you for saying that. And 84%, I think, or of the teaching force is white. So if people came into education to teach their culture and only what they know, then that leaves out quite a lot of our students. So thank you for pointing out how important it is that we take the time to learn about other cultures. And even as a Black woman, when I'm introducing cultures that are not native to my understanding, I have to do research and delve in. And so thank you for bringing that up. And I'm very excited for your kids that they're gonna get to have you, because you are very obviously thinking about your practice thoroughly and in a way that I know will resonate with them. So thank you for tonight.
Thank you. What you said is so important. The majority of the people who teach are white people. So if the white people don't teach every other culture, then again, we're leaving kids out and making them not feel valued. It broke my heart every time somebody said something negative about gospel music. Oh, I remember the first school I went to was Millikan University, and I was a part of their women's ensemble. And I remember being in choir with two other Black girls, and we had this amazing gospel choir, Multicultural Voices of Praise. And I remember the girls quitting the choir, and I was like, why y'all quit the gospel choir? And they was like, the voice teacher said it was going to ruin our voice. And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean it's going to ruin your voice? And that's just what they told them. Is gospel music is going to ruin your voice. And when I became a teacher, the only thing that kept resonating in my head was, you were a horrible teacher if you think that one genre ruins the voice. You're a horrible teacher, because you should be able to teach how to sing this music in a healthy fashion. And I make it a point now that when I teach music, I teach my students all genres, and I teach them to do it healthy, so you don't ruin your voice. And so I killed that statement that is going to ruin your voice. So yeah, what you said is so important. Any other questions?
I have a comment.
Yes, Ellis.
And 40, I remember it well. It was a long time ago. And I feel like just knowing that you got a big age range of participants here. And I don't know, just knowing that, I just felt like, yeah, I mean, hey, cassette tape, sweetie pie, I spliced reel to reel tape back in the day.
Alice, don't keep talking about 40. We don't mention it because I am not 40 yet. Thank
Ooh.
you. We do not
Well,
mention it.
I was seriously thinking, I know what I did on my 50th birthday, but I can't remember what I did on my 40th birthday. I mean, I could if I thought hard, but oh, actually, I think, yes, I do know what I did because I was just getting ready to go to Temple University where I got my doctorate in dance history.
Okay.
That's what I remember that party too.
Awesome.
My
Leon,
boyfriend said, my boyfriend said, how come there's all women here? I said, we're dancers. What do you think?
Mr. Leon has his hand raised. I'd love to hear what he has to say.
Hi guys. So Maria, your story resonates with me because, well, first of all, thank you for being so vulnerable. Okay. When you were talking about your college experience, that was mine. I grew up in Jamaica. I came in when I was 17. I didn't start studying music until I was 22. So and I was in community college, right? So when the professor talked about the flat seven, or like going from if you're in C, you play of a 404, which is B flat, and go to F. Like, I'm in the back of class literally saying, oh, so that's to him who sits on the throne, out loud, because that's what I identified with, and going on to undergrad, 4-year college. And my advisor telling me, well, you got a C+ in theory 1, so you should probably just change your major. And again, it's like these mishaps or these gaps aren't filled, not just on the K through 12 level, it's throughout, academia, and it's so sad. But one thing, and I'm pivoting here, one thing I liked about, I can't remember which seminar I went to, but they were directing their comments towards, let's say, orchestra directors, orchestra teachers, and they said, put up the picture of the Black composer, and not a composer, the conductor, and don't even mention that he's Black or Hispanic or Latino, or just put it up and say, this person is great, and that's it. And the kids will become enlightened, But thank you for sharing so openly, and thank you for just the presentation that you led us on tonight.
No, thank you. But that's so important. I wish somebody, when I was a kid, would have put up a picture of a conductor and it was a woman, because I never knew that I could be a female conductor. Hence, that's where girl conductor came from, because I never knew I could do it. Nobody showed me. I didn't see it. So I was going to go be a boring businesswoman. Thank God I didn't do that. Because I'd be miserable, because that's not who I'm supposed to be. So yeah, thank you for saying that, Leon. Miss Pearson. Hi, Karen. You got to unmute, love.
Thank you, Maria. You are so brave, and I am so grateful for everything that you've said. It just confirms, so many times, there's this uncertainty in the classroom, and you hope that you're doing the right thing. But hearing you speak tonight really makes me feel much more comfortable about the things that I've already done. So thank you very much.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. Jesse.
Hello.
Hi, friend.
I always appreciate your perspective, and I hold you to great high esteem, and I love the work that you've done with my kiddos and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be vulnerable like you and ask a very probably stupid question. So I teach music appreciation as well, and I always teach, as much as I can about, we go from medieval music all the way through modern day music, and we talk rock and roll and Michael Jackson and all that kind of good stuff. But I always am trying to be, I guess, respectful to the culture that is not mine, and respectful to the Black culture. And I have a hard time recognizing when is it appropriate to use the term Black versus African American. And I always am like trying to, use both connotations, but I never know when is it appropriate to use either or.
That's a great question. And I think that answer is going to differ by who you talk to. Maria Antoinette, it's very rare that I refer to myself as African American because I have never been to Africa a day in my life. I know very little about it. I haven't researched the country. I've never been there. I can't tell you about the tribes that live there. I don't know nothing about it. I just know about being Black. Because to me, being Black, that's an experience that no matter where you come from, Africa, Jamaica, Haiti, that we all share as Black people. So I'm going to say Black. Now you may ask Leon, and Leon may say, well, no, I'm gonna say African American. I think whichever one you say is fine.
Okay.
I don't think people are going to be offended either way. That's my opinion about it. I don't think people are going to be offended anyway.
Okay.
But you could teach and not mention the color at all.
True. Yeah.
So you can teach various genres of music in various cultures and not mention color or mention Black or African American. You could present it all, especially music that comes from America, as American music.
Perfect.
Because it's from America. And that way nobody gets in trouble. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's something that and there may be people who disagree with me and say, well, Maria, you need to say that it's Black music, blah, blah, blah. Maybe people that say that, but I'm just gonna speak on the gospel world. In the gospel world, you have all these fabulous singers. Not all these fabulous singers were Black people. It was white people singing gospel too. Vicky Yohe, she's white. Martha Munizzi, she's white. Like all these fabulous singers who sing gospel music, they're not Black. Kirk Franklin, he has singers where there's a Hispanic lady who's singing and her voice, I don't know her name, I'm sorry. Her voice is amazing. There's so many people who sing these various genres. So I would present it as American music. And I say it comes from this culture. You can say African-American culture or Black culture if you wanted to say that, but I love teaching, especially music appreciation, which is where I'm going with this class. I'm teaching it through the lens of American music.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Maria.
No problem, love. Hi, Miss Alberta. You got your hand up.
Yeah, I see that. No, I was just going to say a couple of things. One of them is I think what you're talking about overarchingly is teaching the individual people in your room, thinking of them as individual human beings who all have differences and needs. And, you know, I've always considered myself primarily a teacher of people, not a teacher of music. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so I love that about you because I feel that in you. And I also wanted to say that I have a beginning of school activity that helps us find our commonalities.
Mm.
And it is this. So you send an email out to all the staff in your building and ask them to send you something about when they were in choir. Were they in choir? And if they have a picture to attach to it or anything like that. And then I make a bulletin board of all those people that I get responses from. And you'd be surprised at who in your building was in choir. And that makes the kids know all these people did choir too. And then I also took time to look up famous people who were in choir when they were in high school. And that's so much fun because then they talk, you know, you can sometimes find anecdotal information about them being in high school choir.
I may steal it. Can I steal it?
So you could do that at any level, yes, but how fun. It was really fun to do that. And I put up photos of the people in my building who had been in choir in high school. And then they sent me just a little note that said, I did high school at Kickapoo High School. You know, Connie Blue was my choir teacher or whatever, or Maria Ellis was my choir teacher, you know, and it was really fun. And so I think finding our commonalities in a classroom is a good way to include everybody as well. Yeah.
I think I think nowadays as a country, we are super, super, super sensitive as a country. And it makes us nervous to do the things.
Yeah.
But I think if we just go back to just thinking as just people and just loving and being good people, then they'll know. Okay, so for instance, I got a kid who's transgender, and I told her, I said, first of all, I want you to remember that you're transitioning and we are too. So I need you to have some grace with us. If I slip up and call you boy, that's not from my heart. Because as you're transitioning, I'm transitioning too. And I now have to reprogram myself that you're no longer this person, you're now this person, and this is your new name. And she was like, yeah, I understand that. But she also knew that I was coming from a place of love. So she never had to worry about Miss E being malicious or anything like that. Or when I had questions and I said, okay, I need you to tell me about this, because I want to make sure that the next student who comes through my program that's transitioning, that I have an understanding. And she was like, yeah, come on, I can tell you everything, because we had that relationship and because she knew that I was coming from a place of love. So not to be religious, but the scripture says that love covers a multitude of flaws. And if we love, then kids can see our love and they can feel our love, and they're more willing to engage with us because they know Miss Smith, Miss Patterson, Miss Pearson, Mr. White, Miss Paisley, they got my back and they love me.
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem at all. Anybody else got a question?
Jessie has a hand up still, but it might be left over from when she had her hand up the first time. So Jessie, did you want to say anything else?
No, I just don't know how to do the Zoom, so that's my bad.
Well, I really appreciate you all getting on the call with me. I know probably the last thing anybody want to do is be virtual on a PD session at nighttime, but thank you all so much. It means a lot to me that you all got on with me. So thank you for that. And thank you, Phyllis, for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, we're just thrilled. This is our first baby steps into sponsoring professional development. Not only under my tenure, because we haven't sponsored any subject since I started a year ago, but especially in this very important work. So we're thrilled that you agreed and said yes when we said, would you? And so thank you very, very much, Maria.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Any other questions before we all sign off for the evening? All right. Thank you all for coming, and have a blessed rest of your night. And stay tuned. I will add all of you into our mailing lists and stuff. And when we do kick off those other conversational times, you're invited.
Yay.
Bye, everybody.